Madam Chairman, for allowing me to speak and join this really interesting debate this afternoon. And I thank the honourable gentleman for exactly the right kind of way of approaching this debate this afternoon. I've found it very interesting. And I think my intervention early on in regard to tracking where our young people go next as they leave school stands, and that's one of the points I'm very pleased to be able to expand upon. We know when people aren't going to achieve their outcomes or their exams. They're going AWOL and they're falling off the radar. And in my previous role as Employment Minister, quite often the time that we would pick them up in a job centre and back in to the next stage of their careers is when they'd had a stay at the MOJ or had developed health conditions, addictions or other challenges that needed to be unpicked. And I very strongly believe at mid-teenage that with the right interventions we can make sure that everybody can go into a fulfilling career. And if exams and university is not their route, and as we heard from the Honourable Lady from Southend, you know, that's 60% of our young people, that really matters. And I would like us in schools and more roundly to talk about the reality of a life of jobs. There is not a career. If you're very lucky if you go into a career, we actually don't get a job for life. And hey, we all live in insecure career times in this place. But in reality, we need to speak about jobs, roles and sectors and things changing to inspire and enable our kids to take that opportunity from education, take that into the world of work, and not feel that education and learning is only in schools, colleges or universities, that it's got a label like T-levels or indeed an A-level. This is absolutely part of working life, in the fact that the job that some of us might have been in 5 years ago is very different, and the job that some of us might be in 5 years' time, we don't even know about. So we need to be empowering our young people to not think about just studying purely at school or college or university, that studying is never over, that learning and having the confidence to take on new skills and abilities, what you get from a good education is what you need to take you into a long-term career. So we need to build in our young people an agile mindset. We need to help people to be ready to join the labour market at any age or any stage. And absolutely, with my former Employment Minister hat on, and may I make the time to welcome the Honourable Lady to the front bench. It's very good to see her there. Absolutely tackle job snobbery. There is no such thing as good or bad work. We've all done jobs that we don't generally enjoy quite so much. They're less lucrative, they're less valuable in people's mindsets. But let's be honest, during the pandemic, we started to understand who and what really meant to our lives everything. And many of those people were roles that simply coming into this pandemic we didn't understand or fully appreciate. So the mantra of ABC, any job, better job, career, because guess what? You're never more attractive than when you're in a job. And that's wrong, but it's a fact. But those skills, those soft skills, the confidence, if I had a penny for hearing the word confidence when it comes to changing or transitioning roles because of the pandemic is absolutely key. So we need to instill that confidence through good careers advice in schools and allow our schools to be able to open up and spend that time with their local economy. And I agree with the Honourable Member from Broadland exactly about that. You could be right next to the Cadbury's factory and have never been in. You could be in the theatre of Stratford-upon-Avon but never have been there. And you can feel very locked out, even in your own community. And that's what schools should be doing, not just unlocking careers or education. They should be unlocking opportunity that is right on the doorstep. You shouldn't need to move to find opportunity. Yes, of course.
Thank you. Thank you. totally agree with what the Honourable Lady is just saying about schools being the ones to give this advice. And I raised this morning with Westcliff High School for Boys in my patch and talked to the headmaster about this debate. And he said, one size does not fit all. And in terms of careers advice, the funding must go to the schools because the schools know their local area. The schools know the different opportunities that are available. And would she agree with me that this is an example where we absolutely must put the schools in charge of this funding and this advice?
Yeah, I agree with the Honourable Lady, but I'm conscious of not overburdening schools. You know, where is the bridge here? Let's find the bridge in terms of the careers service, in terms of the links to the local labour market. And there are ways of doing that, Job Centre Plus, or indeed through LEPs or growth funds, through mayors. There are very good ways to assist schools in this, but it absolutely has got to be because the school is determined to look at the careers and the long-term outcomes for the young people, not solely exam results. So we then again have to make sure we're not solely judging a good school on exam results. It's where you come from to where you get to. You know, your progression, some people's progression simply isn't about exam results. And that leads me on to the work of the Kickstart programme. 163,000 young people went into their first jobs, despite the impact of the pandemic, under 25, most at risk of long-term unemployment. And how did we do that? We got the employers into the job centres, we put people together, we threw out CVs, because who's got experience until you've got experience? And of course you haven't, particularly through a pandemic. And this provided life-changing opportunities for young people. But above all, stop people asking for the finished article. Who here has gone into the role, this role, any role, as the finished article? So we have to help employers to stop looking for the finished article. Who mentored them into that sector, that area? Take them back to where they were before they came into this grand or great role, of course.
Does she agree with me that the full functional employment that we have now, the dearth of staff for many companies, and I refer to my former register of interest, I was an employer and struggled often to find staff. Does she think that dearth of staff will help change this attitude of employers? That they'll work with what they've got, they'll bring people on and they'll help develop their careers in situ?
Well, there's nothing, my honourable friend, wrong with being an employer, because above all, we need people to take those risks, those opportunities, those leadership roles. But you have to have the experience in the start-up to get there. I genuinely think this is a sea change for careers and for employers. And again, it leads me to explain a little more about the Kickstart roles that were created. We've seen anecdotally around 7 in 10 people have stayed with their existing employer. But we've also found underlying this, many people also having undiagnosed health conditions, challenges at home, or indeed other issues where simply going into the wider labour market was never going to happen for them. And that was going to be exacerbated by the impact of the pandemic. And so at DWP, when I was there, we opened up over 150 youth hubs. Now, these were locally led, including the careers service, including local authorities, and with job centres and employers to go into a safe and more relaxed and comfortable space to have that one-to-one conversation about what can you do and what are you interested in. Because if you spark that rather than the what you can't do in our young people or anybody at any age or career stage, you are going to be able to, as an employer, take a chance on people. And with near full employment, 80% almost in some parts of the country, you know, people are having to do that. They're throwing out the usual way of doing it and putting time and training into people. And I don't think anybody really regrets that, do they? In terms of university guidance, I fully agree, and my honourable friend from Worcester put this brilliantly, and others in the room. we have got to really help those people who perhaps there is this stigma about not going to university. And we are potentially sending people who are wasting their time when they could be doing something much more local, much more productive, and much more benefit to the local labour market. And you can only do that based on really strong, good reading skills and digital skills. And a lot of young people, and generally as a whole, we can hide behind our mobile phones and feel that we've got digital skills, and we simply haven't. So we need to tackle really strongly the STEM challenge and make sure that we talk about the skills that you need for different sectors and jobs and what is transferable. And you can't do that without face-to-face support. You know, we know that works in job centres, we know that works with training. Online courses do not, in my view, equip people enough to get into the sectors and the areas that they need. You can do some of that training, but you need that practical, individual, human support. And it's absolutely vital that we put that into people and really tackle the STEM issue as a result. We recently had our Mid-Sussex STEM event. Phil Todd chaired it, linking into the Burgess Hill Business Park Association, and we had some wonderful schools coming to spend a wonderful day building bridges and weighing things and creating things and doing projects and working with local businesses that they simply wouldn't have known was there. And in fact, 70% of the jobs in Mid-Sussex are actually in small industrialist places. They're in the back bedrooms. They're not on the high street. They're in villages and areas that you don't see that they're actually globally exporting. So you don't need to work in a big building to have big opportunities, and that's really important for young people to see as well. And I think the main thing for good careers advice is not about where you start, it's about where you end up and giving the confidence to that. So I've enjoyed the yoghurt making, selling kitchens, working in Little Chef, mobile phones, selling pagers, remember them. But I also want to go back to the job snobbery point. Pubs and restaurants, hospitality, we miss and love those places when they're not open, they can't serve us. These are absolutely revered, some of these places, when we go on holiday and we go abroad. You can progress very quickly in this sector. Let's talk about careers as a whole. And I will conclude now, if I may, Madam Chair, because I'm sure time is against us. Thank you.
Thank you.